What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here. We're here at PAX Unplugged with a familiar face at this point, Quentin from Elderwood Academy. And we have a variety of updates, things we've kind of alluded to in the past, that there are new developments on several of these. And from the looks of it, a bunch of them are available here at the con for you to pick up. So, you know what? Why don't we just roll into it? Well, they know who you are. We've talked a whole bunch in the past.
Maybe.
All right, well, here, go ahead and introduce yourself then.
I'm the guy that makes mistakes on camera a lot.
Yes.
We'll see how we do today.
All right. So we've talked about these in the past. There's updates to existing products. There's new products that are now kind of getting new kind of artwork and means of sort of display and customization. So where do you want to start first?
I guess we start with just broadly speaking, we've been kind of buffing up our products. Like our whole product line we've been going through and like what are the things that we want to do better at, and then let's start doing that. And so last year, it was 2 years ago, we started rolling that out with our spell books and sort of updating the build quality and stuff. Mm-hmm. And we've been sort of like chipping away through our products and being like, how can we make these more engaging, better function, etc. And I guess we can start here on the right side and just sort of work through everything and see what's new. So
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Tell us what you want to talk about.
Sure. We have a bunch of accessories for our Dungeon Journal product that they're designed to like fit into the Dungeon Journal, and they fold flat, and then when you arrive at your game, you can take them out of your Dungeon Journal and fold them up. And so we had a dice tray for it, which had sort of snap-up corners. It's nothing novel, like these products do exist, right. But it was just one that fit for our Dungeon Journal. And it started on development like several years ago, to be honest. And then we were like, oh, we should do this for the rolling trays. And so this is our new magnetic rolling tray. Mm. So we got rid of the snaps in the corners. We've replaced them with a magnetic structure. And so this whole thing folds flat again and will fit into your Dungeon Journal. And then, but this one, as you guys can obviously can't see the magnets, but you can kind of see the effect of them. You can fold this up and snap it together very quickly. Mm. It also sits flatter in your Dungeon Journal because there aren't snaps protruding. Right. And overall, it has hard walls too, so you get like a more rigid surface to roll, fewer cocked dice, all that kind of stuff. But we were just looking at that part of that product and being like, this needs to be better.
Right.
And so this is the better one. And so we rolled that change out, I'm going to say like 3 months ago.
Okay. And
it's always surprising how long it takes to do those things, because we have to figure out how to produce them consistently, and then we have to like actually make the website changes and make sure we're stocked and all this kind of stuff. So, but yeah, this is the first show that we brought them to, because we're just at the cusp of having the changes in place at Gen Con. Mm. So, but yeah, so this is our like new rolling tray, and there's a couple like hidden features that you're not going to see, which I unfortunately we have a very, very, very small update to the matching tower. This is one of the dice towers, that same sort of thing. This whole thing, I'm going to struggle to do this on camera, but this whole thing folds flat so that it can go into your Dungeon Journal. And when you set this up to be a tower, let's go ahead and roll this guy up here. When you set this up to be a tower, we used to sort of just like plop it in the rolling tray and use it. And these guys actually have, let's borrow some stuff here. They have magnets on the front here.
Oh, okay.
And so the idea is and we've added magnets to the new style rolling trays so that this can just get like stick right there.
Okay.
And it's a little bit silly, but it's a satisfying little bonus feature that.
So if we were to let's just test this theory, right?
This is an old one, so this doesn't have.
Well, see, now he's making me a liar. But anyway, yes, no, I can speak from personal experience using this quite often in some of my games that. I personally, I understand the concept of the snap tray. You guys probably have them at home. Everybody has a tray that does that. And the reason you could do it is it's cheaper to produce. And it fits flat. That's kind of the whole concept. But it makes that weird little pocket in the corner where your dice can just go to never land flat. And they also have a more sort of soft ledge, like you're saying. So it's very easy to roll in and out of the tray, where a more rigid side structure is going to keep the die you can't really get a craps style effect if your dice go flying out of the table. So I think that this is definitely an improvement. So
That's the oh craps effect.
yeah. So, and also this just feels more like a premium product to me, just looking at it compared to something with snaps. Because, again, not that it matters, but the snap style trays do feel like pretty commonplace. Something like this with kind of magnetic closures is a more unique piece. There's the tactile fidget aspect of undoing and redoing the magnets, which is kind of a fun little thing. And the only thing I'll just warn you is if you're someone lucky enough to have your pixel dice, if you are connected and throw it at the corner of a magnet, it will disconnect your pixel die from whatever you're attached to. But just keep that in mind. Anyway.
Those are things that I didn't think about.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, maybe these are strong enough, but I don't know. But, your leather around them, but who knows? But either way, it's just something that I've experienced in my own life with a magnetic tray that's been like, why am I, every time I shoot the corner, I get my dice disconnect from Foundry, and that's why. Anyway. So there's small updates. Are these the updates to the new trays? Or the towers, are they here?
We don't have them at the show.
Okay.
But any of the towers that we are making on our online store, those are all include the magnets, and you'll actually you'll be able to identify it. There was a small art update that went out. This kind of has this like hexagon D20 shape and has some bordering on these, and the new rolling tray has this kind of spell circle design on it, and this got a art package update to sort of match this. So there's a little bit more of there's this, again, very small thing, and that's how I can tell that this is an old one, is that this does not have the matching art package.
Gotcha. And again, this is also an opportunity, right? Make sure we always say this, that if you see something like this design, or maybe this design, potentially, and I don't know if it works for these, but customizable things are options for you in the world. Is that like customizable options? Because you can change this out, pick from what's on the site, or maybe even go custom route, or is that not a thing for the tower for this?
So for these, the options, generally speaking, are what foil color and what leather color do you want? Okay. And then we press those things. We can do custom art for these, and we'll probably be adjusting our process a little bit to be more... it is always hard to assess price. For any of the foil press products, we have to buy a magnesium mold from a supplier. And it's a fixed cost. We can't, there's no way to get around that by being clever with labor or something like that. And so, and we pay per square inch. Okay. And so it's always awkward when you're trying to charge someone up front for something, but you don't know what size the thing is going to be. Right. So if someone orders something that's the size of a silver dollar, right, it's like, yeah, that's actually usually less than $10. Right. But if you order something that is the size of one of our dungeon or our master tomes, yeah, it's like that's hundreds of dollars of custom art. And so trying to figure out a way that we can get that information up front of what size are we working on here? Sure. Can we charge appropriately for that size, et cetera, to make sure that we don't have to overcharge people? So we're trying to work through those sort of things. And again, it costs about $2 a square inch to have these made. And so when you're looking at something like this is maybe 5 inches tall by just shy of 3 inches. We'll call it 5 by 3. So we've got 15 square inches here. This is about, and then actually there's going to be a margin here because they can't cut it exactly on the edges. Right. So that so there's probably a 1/4 inch margin. So we're probably looking at something like about a $40 die to have something like this made. And this is a $29 rolling tray. So sure. if you wanted to get custom art for this, we can 100% do that. But it's going to and that doesn't account for the cost that we need of our staff to handle the custom art too. Right. So it's you're going to over double the cost of this, which if you are a store and you're I want to order 20 of these from my store to sell. Right, sure. Then great, let's get your logo made, let's make this happen. And that is, it's a one-time cost to buy the mold. Once we have it, we can, go to town. Yeah, sure. But for individual purchasers, that's an expensive process to go through for something like this. So 100% something we can do, but not something I'm expecting anybody's going to want to do necessarily. Okay. I guess with one exception, which is if you got a whole Dungeon Journal kit, yeah, and you had a logo or something, yeah, get one that's size that fits the front of the Dungeon Journal, but also fits the rolling tray and stuff like that. So there are some things like that where we can reuse the same mold over and over again and sort of get more mileage out of it. So like the Nerd Immersion logo we have.
Yes. Well, I was gonna say, so it's an option. It may be pricey, but if you desperately want to have it on your thing for your table, for whatever it is, or again, if you own a store and you want to have your store logo, maybe you have a larger event that you're putting on that you're, whether it's tabletop related event, and you're like, it would be really cool to have this custom thing as something that's available as giveaways, whatever. Or maybe your table, right? You get maybe your table's 6 people, right? And you want to get a custom set just for your table as like a memory thing. And then all 6 of you chip in. It's not so bad. There's just options that are out there. It's a thing you can do, just you may end up paying for it in the long run. But, obviously, like you said, if it's scalable, that may work to go on a different piece. If it's like, okay, well, if it sits in here, maybe I can get the same size thing on a spellbook or whatever it might be. So something to consider, that you can possibly reuse these in multiple avenues. That's just something you need to consider when it comes to pricing these things out. And I guess the last thing I would say about that, just while we're talking about it, is does this, you said obviously you need to order the die. If I were to just buy this off the shelf stock versus customizing something for myself where you have to order a die, and let's say that it's not like a multicolor thing and you have to go through a whole process. It's like, it's very clearly, they know what they're doing. They know how to get you something that makes this easy. How much does that extend like the time period generally to get from order to finish?
We usually ask for an extra about 1 to 2 weeks to process custom art, and so it's usually not wild, but we're not a huge team. So I think there's 7 or 8 of us right now, and so if we get busy, we're going to come back from PAX Unplugged into Thanksgiving,
Right.
and then we're going to come back from Thanksgiving week, having effectively worked only a few days over 2 weeks, and then have Black Friday orders. We're going to be behind for the first 2 weeks of December, and so doing custom art, I think basically between now and through the holidays. It's probably going to be close to the end of that 2-week period, because we're just going to have a lot of stuff to do.
Sure.
But the reality is these things can happen very quickly if they need to, and so usually it's do we have a staff member available to handle the custom art? Mm-hmm. And if the logos are, like you said, if the logos are very clean, it's this is exactly what we want. That we get vector drawings that we don't have to fuss with and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That can be super straightforward, because the only confirmation we need from the customer is here's a look at what the size is going to look like. Is that correct?
Right.
Because once we punch in the order for the die, we've set that in stone.
Right.
We can still, of course, adjust foil colors, leather colors, stuff like that at that point, but and we could adjust the placement too. Okay. Again, that can't happen very quickly. Usually the kind of hang-ups are is our staff available to do it? And then how much time do we need to spend back and forth with an individual to make sure that they've delivered the right files to us? We've delivered previews that they can be that's what I was thinking about, right. That's what I want. And sometimes that process can go on for a little while, and that can eat several weeks. So, but yeah, if things are good to go, it can be pretty quick.
Okay. So again, something to consider, right? If you're trying to do this for an event or a specific holiday occasion, things you need to consider if you're going to go that route. There are external factors, but it has the potential to be not too much longer, but just plan accordingly.
Oh, one other detail there. Whenever you order online from us, there are humans on the other side reading your orders.
Yeah. Okay.
If you put an order in and you're my son's birthday is December 7th, I need this by then. That's a really good thing to tell us, because if we see your order and we're whoa, you ordered this on December 1st, there's no way we can do that. We can then reach out to you and be hey, this is not going to happen. Would you like us to cancel the order? And then also, if you we usually ask our customers 2 to 4 weeks. The reality is we usually ship most things in 1 to 2 weeks. But if you send us a note that's hey, I need this by December 7th, we see that and be oh, cool, let's make sure we deliver this by this date for the customer. And so sometimes it changes the internal, oh, let's elevate Spellbook, this batch of Spellbook minis to make sure they get out the door this week. And so there's stuff like that that's it's good to tell us more than less. So if you are ordering on a tight margin, tight timeline, talk to us.
Okay. All right, so that is what we've got here with our Dungeon Journal kind of accessories in the tray and the tower. We do have some other stuff here, though, that's definitely some of the more newer, updated designs we've talked about in the past. So why don't we talk about what's next?
Sure. So let me put these guys aside for now. I feel like probably I actually want to share some dice next because it's going to make the rest of the conversation make more sense.
Sure, yeah, let's do
And
it.
so let's go ahead and we'll get some B-roll shots maybe of these, so you guys can see details. So it's going to be very hard to see from this camera view, but these are dice. These are actually made by RG Dice Boutique, and she's a lovely young woman who has been making dice for a long time, and her theme of dice is she makes these like stained glass dice. If you haven't seen her Instagram, you should like look up RG Dice Boutique on Instagram, and she does these like absolutely gorgeous dice. And the challenge, of course, with her dice is they're handmade, and it is each one is a huge time investment for her. And so they're expensive. It's hard to access for a lot of consumers, and so. This project is coming down the pipeline. We are trying to work with her and a third-party manufacturer to like bring her dice out in a way that they are accessible to people.
Sure.
And so we have some samples here at the show, and again, we'll get some pictures of them for you guys. But this should be coming down the pipeline in 2026. We are expecting this to be on a crowdfunding platform, most likely Kickstarter, because that's where we have the most experience.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I love her craft. I can't say enough about it, and so it's really fun to work on a product that you believe in and you care about. So these are things that should be coming down the pipeline sometime in 2026. That we don't have a firm timeline quite yet.
Okay.
And I wanted to talk about that first, so that that would explain a little bit of what's going on here. We have been over this last year, we like rolled out a new edition of hex chests, which I think we talked about before, but
a couple times, yeah.
It's just like there's some fairly simple features here that like are just usability upgrades, quality upgrades, and like simply like the base is the shorter part. We call that our bell jar design, and what that does is it makes it super easy to grab a die out of your hex chest.
Yeah.
As opposed to older hex chests, you kind of had to dump the dice out, or if you had very dexterous fingers, you could land one.
Right.
You can also potentially use this space as a rolling tray, albeit that's a pretty small rolling tray.
Sure.
And then we also we have started adding additional foam inserts, and so you will get a foam insert on top, but you will also get individual pocket foams on the bottom. And so when you close up, your dice have top and bottom foam.
Put that back on for a sec. There's a little bit of shake, but not a lot. So if you're going to be... Yeah, let's add the second foam in here. We'll for science here. Go ahead. There you go.
It's probably the D6.
Yeah, but as you can see, it's, if you're using high-end, these are gemstone dice here. Obviously, you want to keep them in pristine as condition. You spent the money to get the high-end, unique die. And these are upsized to fit more modern dice, 10 years ago or so. If it came out of anything other than a plastic Chessex case, that was a shock, really. So everybody now has custom, bespoke dice from a variety of different creators. So these have been upsized to allow for that. So that's one of the other things. And then again, obviously, with these additional pieces of foam, protection to stop the die from shaking all around, chipping off corners, things like that.
Yep. Yeah, and thanks for mentioning the size. Actually, the size is the number one feature of like these are larger to fit more modern sized dice, including like sharp edged acrylic dice, which are becoming, extremely popular over the last handful of years.
Yeah.
That's it. I know we've talked about the hex chest before. What we have new at this show is, and this is why I talked about the dice before. So these have a very stained glass aesthetic to them.
All right.
And so we are trying out some sample stained glass art. And so again, we will get some. This is probably going to be the one that's going to be easiest to see on camera, but
you keep talking. I got it.
But yeah, we brought some stained glass art to the show, and our goal here is to get feedback from customers at PAX Unplugged. Be like, I like this, I want it, etc. So these are like prototype art direction. And I think as we roll out the dice in a Kickstarter, we will match that with stained glass art to sort of go with the theme. And that may be something we roll out through other products over the course of the year too. So you might see and again, we're getting feedback from everyone. So if you hate these, tell us. If you love them, tell us. If there's things you'd like to see differently, tell us. But right now is the kind of the moment where like we want to hear from people to understand how much engagement we're going to get out of this sort of stuff.
So I'll give you my feedback live here at PAX Unplugged.
Wait, can I guess?
What?
I want less laser engraving and more wood.
That is accurate, but my point is, I like this. I like this better than, I don't know what I would call it, where it's really kind of like routed, and you have like, this is a very thin line design, whereas some of the more older hex chests, if you have like a design on it, we're removing a lot of material to kind of set the background, if you will, on a lower plane, so that he's going to go grab one. We'll talk about that, but I'll just kind of vamp in the meantime. I do like this design because of the fact that like the wood is still the premier piece. Yes, perfect. This is
a great example.
This is what I'm talking about. You can see how like there's a lot of material removed to allow this to sort of be, stand out, and this kind of the background falls in relief. And I prefer this design because I get to see the wood is the premier kind of piece. The art is there as well, and it's thin line. I get to experience it and enjoy the design of the wood itself. This is just my personal opinion, but this is also a lot, right? It's a lot of artwork on here. I don't dislike it, and I think there's definitely a market for this, or people who will very much like this. And, as long as it's not the only option going forward, I think that this will do well. I think this will resonate with a lot of people, especially if they like the stained glass design. But I would say, personal opinion, this kind of stuff over this kind of stuff is my preferred thoughts on this.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's funny. I like this look. I like that look personally.
Yeah.
It's like the sort of it creates like a stronger like contrast and emphasis on the like icon in the middle. But again,
right. That's
why we're doing multiple stuff. Is to hopefully whatever speaks to you at your table. Hopefully we can like have some options for you that you're like, yeah, that's the thing I like. Which does include non-engraved wood.
Right.
I just like a nice piece of wood, which is a great thing to say on camera.
Yeah, we clip that. Yeah. Well, more importantly, this doesn't negate this.
Correct.
If you want to have one or the other or something else, right? Doing this doesn't like change your machinery to the point where you can't do something like this. Or if you want to do this with less design or a different design than this, these are all options that you have to choose from. It's just more, things for you to have to decide about, right?
Yeah. We're not gonna like be like removing, making different. This will be like a series of hex chests, I guess, which will not detract from the current offerings.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So I mean, they're just realistically, the way you can think about it is this is just more options for you to choose from when you go to pick out the perfect hex chest for you. So what is your design of choice? So you've got a variety of different options, and I mean, like, I would not have ever thought I'd see one with this much, because this is a lot of intricate design, almost all the way out to the edge, which is a lot of work done on that. So,
yeah, it's actually like as someone who's I am not a classically trained artist, and I have limited skills, but working through geometric patterns is actually something that I enjoy, and I think I do okay with.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
So this is actually like a lot of fun for me to work on this kind of stuff.
And then the only other piece we have here that's not new at this point, but it's become my personal favorite design, and I think a lot of others as well. Whether you're a fan of Legend of Zelda or not, we have the Rupee, which is essentially 2 hex chests, sort of, as you can see, right? There's about the size of around 2 of these. But if we go ahead and pop that open, it has a variety of different pocket designs. Look at that. We have a very nice bespoke wooden pen. Bespoke is the key operative word for this this interview. 2 full sets of dice, and we have a leather-lined rolling tray here with enough room to actually use it as a rolling tray if you want. Whereas this is possible, but
Pretty micro.
I mean, you got to be precise on your roll. So these are now, they've been over the course of the past year or so a trial, and then now I think they're in full production. Is that right?
Yeah, these are in full production. They launched on our website. They're available as of like a week ago.
Okay.
So very new.
Very new,
We've
yeah.
had these to a couple conventions again to try to get feedback from people, and then we haven't actually made a ton of changes since we've got all the feedback. But they're actually available to order now.
And as far as I know, we'd gone back and forth on inner design, like what the inside would look like. Is this the final design, or do you still have multiple options for people to pick from?
This is the final design we went with.
Okay.
So I know we had looked at one that had like a dice set and kind of an open space, and then also had some clever things to be able to hold like a phone or an iPad.
Yeah.
And we ended up landing on this one. Both were things people liked, but we ended up landing on this one because it generally the feedback that we got was this is more clear of like
What it's
I have a use for this, and for the like phone stand, cool stuff, but also like a lot of issues with like, oh yeah, my case is huge, I can't use this, or my case is tiny, and so trying to negotiate the variety of thicknesses that people have for their phones was a little bit challenging. And then also we got some feedback from that one too of like, yeah, I appreciate there's like a general open space here, but like I don't know what I'd use it for.
Right.
And so for people who have multiple sets of dice that they bring, this felt like the right, the more useful version of the two interiors. And so this is the one that we have rolled out.
And it looks like if you were to take this pen out, you probably could fit another maybe full set of 7 in the middle there. So that's 3 full sets of dice. And you have the foam inserts for the top if you want to help keep these dice, safe and protected. Do we want to do a shake test?
We don't have double on this one, but
All right, it's not.
that's pretty good. Yeah, the D6s will slide around a little bit without 2 sets of foam for this size of D6.
Do you give the option for another set of foam for the insert for the top?
We
We don't necessarily need to test
Yeah.
that. It's just out of
It would
curiosity.
be the same as this one.
Okay.
We currently aren't actually.
Okay.
And,
Something to consider.
Yeah, it is something to consider. We've been adjusting the thicknesses of these foams actually over the last couple months. That's been one of the small adjustments, and so the bottom foams have ended up being the thicker piece, and then the top foam has ended up being the thinner piece, and that also helps with like the bell jar style, so making sure that these are easy to pull off. And it's so hard because if your dice are 2 millimeters bigger than these dice, then if you have a thicker piece of foam here, the closure all of a sudden becomes hard. But then if you have traditionally sized dice, thinking like the chess X size, like you need 2 pieces of foam to keep these from rattling around.
Right.
So it's always like an interesting challenge, and maybe the answer is that we should have this as a checkbox in our ordering of like thick top, thin top. But that also like we are human, and the more things that we vary like this, the more likely we are going to screw this up for people. And it's the more cost, like these become more expensive to do, and not just strictly from like a materials perspective, because a second piece of foam, very inexpensive, but it's just like one more thing that we're going to get wrong if we have that choice. So we're trying to be responsible about like making sure that this is sustainable long term, which I know that sounds like ridiculous, of like you're talking about an extra piece of foam, man.
Right. Yeah.
But all of these like the scope creep of all of these things do come out, and so we have been actively trying to adjust that to try to land in the right place.
Sure.
And this is where we currently are, and we may come back from looking at this feedback and hearing from people. And again, even with the single piece of foam, the shake is not a lot.
Right.
And I don't know how many people go to their like rave with their rupee in hand, but like if you were throwing these in your backpack, like I would have zero concerns about the amount of shake that is happening in these with this foam configuration. But so, anyways.
Well, how many people have a glass of wine on their mattress and jump up and down to see if it gets knocked over, right? You know what I mean? It's the same kind of thing. But so this has, obviously, we have, Elderwood Academy kind of art on the front. similar concept as far as custom design. Are you offering that for this or no?
We currently have this design and blank design in honor of you.
Thank you.
Right now that's it, and we will eventually do more art development for these, and I have a feeling when we roll out stained glass, we will also support the same art here. Okay. But again, this is prototypes. We have a limited amount at the show this weekend, and are just hearing back from people. So.
We've got a leather lined inside. This is a similar concept to what we talked about. Like if you were to get because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I designed it to fit in here, it looks to be roughly the same size as what was inside there.
It actually is the same one.
Okay.
And talking about like reusing the same die for multiple things. This is the same size and shape, and it's exactly the same customization process and options that we talked through. And we do have a couple customers who they have purchased a personal art. I don't know if logo is necessarily the right word for it, but sure. They will have a personal piece of art, and we will use it on across a variety of products. So, but yeah, this is exact same sort of process.
Okay, so again, consider maybe that initial upfront cost for the customization seemed like a lot, and it's almost double the price of what we were talking about. But you've made the die. Now you can transfer it here if you want to go pick up a Rupee or however. So there's a process to get multiple pieces if that's something you want. So I guess my last question is, for hex chests and rupees and things like that, we know how it is to do foil, right? Foil, you have to get a die, it's a custom thing. If you want a custom or unique design on the front piece of wood, where it's just, whether it's the design you kind of prefer, the design I prefer, you're not obviously making a leather die, but what's the process? Obviously, I'm assuming it's vector drawings or something to get them to happen, but how does that work?
Great question. So it's almost the identical process to the foil pressing, but we don't need to order that expensive die in the middle.
Oh, okay.
And so we eventually we do need to, whatever you give us will get turned into vectors. Okay. And so if you send us a low resolution JPEG, that can be extremely difficult for us to work with.
I see.
And it may not look how you expected, which you would see in a proof. You'd be like, oh wow, that doesn't look how I thought it would. But so we ask people to send out either really high resolution high resolution vectors, nice, really high resolution JPEGs, and or to send us vector drawings, and they need to be in black and white. There's nothing about these engravings that is grayscale.
Right.
It is engraved or it is not engraved, and so occasionally we have a lot of work to do with art to try to make sure that it engraves well. But generally speaking, what you send us will get turned into vectors. Those vectors will get turned into a laser engraving pattern, and then these will get laser engraved. And so it's I think the hardest part of this is just making sure that the communication back and forth, what you give us, show us what we think that we are going to do for you, make any edits to the digital proofs, and then make the laser engraving. So it's much easier because we don't have that middleman where we're like, oh, now we have to go to our graphics supplier and order this die, which costs extra time to do and stuff like that. So this is even faster turnaround because we're not relying on an extra company here.
Okay, so again, all things to consider if you're looking to get some sort of bespoke wood piece for your table. Whether, I mean, again, as I've said many times, and I'll continue to say, it's a statement piece when you pull something like this out of your backpack, whether that's, I mean, if it's at your table where you play with your friends every week, they've probably seen it, but you roll up to a convention or a local game store, and every time I pull something, they're like, oh, what's that? Where'd you get that? And I was like, oh, you just head on over to booth 2856, and you find it there for yourself, But, I think that covers kind of all of the new stuff. We're going to, like I said, it'll be spliced in between to show off what these dice look like, because these are, I mean, you might even be able to see just how kind of unique and stained glass these things look. But there's so many awesome things here at the booth, and obviously there's other things we didn't even talk about that are kind of mainstays, like spell books, like scroll and codexes and things like that. So definitely worth swinging by. It's easy to see. The booth stands out. It's right at the edge row, which is actually kind of nice as well. So anything else you want to tell the people, Quentin?
I mean, just the usual appreciation for this is one of my favorite shows, and it's the people here at the venue. This is a great I don't know, it's a good time to be here, and so really appreciate everybody who stops by the booth and says hello, and I hope everybody enjoys the show as much as I do. But yeah, and I hope you guys are enjoying. Even if you're not at the show, I hope you guys are having a good pre-Thanksgiving and happy holidays.
All right. Well, thank you again. We'll see you next time.